What's up guys, I'm BTC, a big patch today, new mini event, replays added to the game, lots of buffs, and lots of nerfs. If you're enjoying the video, give it a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to get more. Let's get started. First thing is a brand new mini event. This is Baptiste's Reunion Challenge. Yesterday we got a short story talking a little bit about Baptiste's history since he left Talon and what he's planning on doing now. So to go along with this is another mini event. This is almost identical to what we've seen with the Diva Nano Cola Challenge and then that Ana event that we had earlier on. So what's going to happen is you play through a bunch of matches. It can be in quick play, competitive, or the arcade, and when you win matches, you get new stuff. Also, if you play the arcade, you can double up the rewards, which means you'll get the loot boxes as well, which is pretty cool. Now, there's a bunch of other sprays that you can get from watching various Overwatch live streams. Now, unfortunately, you have to watch specific streams. It doesn't need to be at any specific time. If they're on the list and you watch them, then you can get credit for those sprays. I think it was the original Nano Cola where they allowed you to watch anyone you wanted, which I think would have been better because then you can watch the streamers that you actually like as opposed to being forced to watching ones that you maybe not care about, but whatever. So I'll put a link down below and I'll have a list of all the different streamers that are gonna have those drops enabled. But remember, in order to get those drops, you have to have your Battlenet and your console accounts connected to Twitch. I'll put a couple more links in the description that will show you how to do all that. The other big thing they added with this patch is the replay feature. This is really awesome. It allows you to watch the last 10 matches that you've had, and you can watch it from any angle. Any of the players, you can move the camera anywhere you want. It's really cool. Unfortunately, there are some limitations to it right now. There's no way to share it or to save any of these games. So it just basically gets rewritten every single time you have a new match after the 10th, then the oldest one just goes away. I'm pretty certain they're going to add some sort of way to save these or to share them with friends at some point. But for right now, it's still a pretty cool feature where you can go back and look at your previous games. Particularly if you're playing competitive, you can go and watch that last match and kind of see what kind of mistakes that you've been making and try to, improve on those situations. Now, another cool thing about this is the camera that you control is not limited by the map. Normally, when you're a spectator in a match, you have the same invisible barriers that would constrain all the players. But with this camera, you can go anywhere you want. So you can go and completely explore the different maps and see kind of the little things that are hidden behind the scenes, or just how it looks. It's just like a kind of extra thing that I thought was pretty cool you guys might be interested in. Moving on to the hero balance changes, there are some differences from the PTR. Not everything was brought over exactly how it was. We'll start with Baptiste. He got a nice little buff, so the Biotic Launcher increased heal ammo from 10 to 12. That's just going to allow you to heal more before reloading. That's definitely very good. And then his ultimate amp matrix, the ultimate duration was increased from 8 to 10 seconds. Again, just a flat buff for the character. I mean, he's not a terrible character, but he does tend to get outshined by Ana in a lot of situations, but this should definitely help him out a bit. Next up is Diva. She got a pretty substantial nerf. Defense matrix was reduced in length from 15 meters down to 10 meters, which means you have to be a lot closer to your teammates in order for the defense matrix to be effective. This is still going to be an incredibly powerful ability, but make no mistake, this is a pretty substantial nerf to the ability. Next is McCree. He got a nice little damage buff. It's not as good as what he had on the PTR though. They did reduce it a little bit. So his primary fire recovery was reduced from 0.5 seconds to 0.42 seconds, which again, doesn't really seem like a lot, but when you're actually in game, you can definitely notice that his rate of attack is a lot faster. They just wanted to emphasize that he's more of a glass cannon because he doesn't really have any super mobility stuff. He doesn't have any really big defensive things. He's just about doing damage, and they wanted to increase that. Now, this is going to definitely help the character. Right now on the competitive ladder, the most popular comp is Irisa Roadhog with the Hanzo and Widow. And I can definitely see some teams swapping out either the Hanzo or the Widow, one of them, depending on the situation, for a McCree. I can definitely see that. Now, I'm not sure how big of an impact this is going to have, but because of the D.Va nerf, you're all of a sudden going to start to see more hit scan and more longer range projectile characters. So that means more McCree, more Soldier, more Hanzo. Those characters are just going to become more popular simply because D.Va is going to get weakened with that defense matrix nerf. So we'll have to keep an eye on McCree. You're definitely going to see an increase in his pick rate right away, but whether or not that continues to stay up there or it kind of drops back down, we'll have to wait and see. Next is Irisa. She got a nice little buff. The protective barrier can now be deployed without interrupting reload. Before, what would happen is you would have to kind of decide, am I going to continue reloading or am I going to replace the barrier that just got broken? Now you can do both at the same time. And the reason why this is an issue is because Irisa has an incredibly long reload. Losing some of that time when you're trying to reload can be really bad, but now you don't have to worry about it because now you can just throw down another barrier. So nice little change. Next is Symmetra, also got a nice little buff. Teleporter interact range was increased from 1 meter to 1.5 meters. And they say that this is mostly a quality of life improvement, but just being able to use the teleporter from a little bit further away is going to be better. It just means that you can move around faster, and if you're trying to use it as an escape mechanism, it just became a little bit better. Next is Torbjorn. He got a nerf. This is kind of a big deal. It's not like a massive nerf on the character, but it's definitely significant. So his secondary fire damage per pellet was reduced from 12.5 down to 10.5, and this means he can only do 105 damage on that right click, that alternate fire. The reason why they did this, they said, was because it was too strong in the lower brackets. And I don't think this is really a good idea. I think if they're going to nerf Torbjorn specifically for the lower brackets, I think the better option would be to nerf the turret as opposed to nerfing the character itself. Because of this change, in almost every single situation, you're gonna want to use his left click now. Just because of the way the spread works on that alternate attack, it's just, you're gonna end up missing half of it anyways, and now with the reduced damage, it's just not that good. Now, there is another pretty substantial nerf, however, they have it listed in the bug fixes instead, and that is for Brigitte. So, this says that enemy barriers now block line of sight for Brigitte's rally. This is how all of the other healing, the like Transcendence and Sound Barrier and all that stuff, this is how they work, where those barriers on the enemy barriers will block all of that. And now it's going to block the rally as well, which is a pretty substantial nerf, particularly for Goat's comp, because you're going to have characters that are kind of all mixed up together, and now if you have anyone that's on the other side of that barrier, they're not going to get the rally. So this is a pretty substantial nerf, and then it goes further because apparently we were getting more damage reduction than we were supposed to with the rally itself. And they fixed the bug where the armor damage mitigation was too effective when multiple instances of armor were stacked on top of each other. Now, the way they have this worded, it makes it sound like you would have to have multiple players on Brigitte, and this would only affect like certain arcade or custom matches, but that's not the case. You could use this even in quick play or competitive with just one Brigitte. You would still get this effect. So now that's been reduced. So effectively, what happened with this patch is Brigitte's rally will now no longer go through enemy barriers, and it will also give a lot less damage reduction when the rally is active. So both of those things combined have now made rally a pretty good bit worse than they were before. So this is going to be a decent nerf to that ultimate. Now, combine this with the changes to the D.Va defense matrix, and all of a sudden, Goat's comp has gotten a lot weaker than it has been before. Now, I'm not trying to say that Goats is going to completely go away with these two changes. You're still probably going to see it every now and again, and the pro players are still probably going to use it just because they're so good with it. But these two things, the defense matrix and the rally nerfs, are really bad for Goat's comp. There is one other issue. I don't know if this is my imagination, I'm misremembering, or there's just an issue with the training bots, but watch what happens when I use the whip shot. There's a very noticeable pause before the bot actually gets knocked back. Like, you hit them, they deals the damage, and then there's a pause before there's a knockback on it. Let me show you again. Ready? We're gonna see the damage get applied, and then it gets knocked back. Like, that doesn't seem right to me. Am I the only one? Like, am I just imagining things? Let me know down in the comments, because that doesn't seem right to me. Moving on to maps, there was an important change made to 2 capture points, like Hanamura and Volskaya. The first thing is that the time awarded for capturing point A has been reduced from 4 minutes down to 3 minutes. They just thought that the maps were going too long, so they wanted to reduce that time, so now overall, 2 capture point maps are going to take less time to play. The second thing, and this is a really big one, is that after losing point A, any defenders that are dead or die shortly after will have a maximum respawn time of 3.5 seconds. This means that the attackers can't take point A, stagger a couple of the lingering defenders, and then rush to point B while they still have a 6v4 type advantage. That just can't happen anymore. Now, those defenders will always come back fast enough where that point B defense will have 6 people there to try to defend it. So this is just going to make it so that you can't steamroll through both points anymore, which is a pretty good change. This does mean that stalling on point A is a lot more viable now, because you just get to respawn almost instantly after point A gets captured, so it's not like you're going to be staggered anymore. However, you have to keep in mind, if you're using a Hammond or something in order to stall that point A, you're going to give the enemy team a lot of ult charge when they destroy that Hammond. So it's kind of a trade-off. Is giving the enemy that ult charge worth it to kind of stall the point for an extra 10 or 15 seconds or however long you can hold it? I don't know, I guess it kind of depends on the situation. That's all the balance changes. Also, the arcade is going to have a competitive ladder free-for-all mode for the next couple weeks, so you can try that out. It might be a good way for you to get your arcade boxes and also that Baptiste mini event stuff as well. So what do you guys think about all these changes? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.